Welcome, everybody, to Vision Untethered Conversations with Inspirational Visionary Leaders. My name is Jill Simonds, founder of Savvy Strategic Partners. We are a full service dedicated leadership team of fractional executives. We are executing vision, increasing business value, and helping our founder owners realize freedom. We authentically unpack today the biggest learnings, insights both in business and in life, and identify saboteurs that keep many of us tied down. Today's guest is none other than my friend Bob Shenefelt, founder and visionary behind iMatter and the Visionary Forum. He is dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations to discover their purpose and unlock their true potential. With a passion for fostering personal growth and leadership, Bob has created platforms and communities that inspire meaningful connections, promote self awareness, and drive transformative change. Bob, so excited to have you here. I've been looking
Thank
forward to
you, Jill.
this.
Thank you. Me too. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I know your purpose, cause, and passion, and it's something that you exude with confidence so often, but tell our guests, please, what your purpose, cause, and passion is.
So, purpose is to, and this is my purpose for me, which is the foundation of everything that I do and who I am, but it's to create experience and spread peace, joy, and freedom. And so that's what my purpose for me is, and that's how I help people as I coach them or they go through forum or go to our events, is for them
Hmm.
to figure out what is their peace, joy, and freedom be, and that can be in their business. And again, we do help with business side, team side, and individual side, but ultimately my target market are big time purpose driven visionaries,
Hmm.
ready for and committed to exponential growth. And that's not just in their business, it's in their life. And so to help them to figure out what matters most to them, who are they and why they're here. And so then that helps
Hmm.
us to build teams to keep us in that space, because left to our own devices, a lot of times we create a lot of cool stuff, but then we have to follow up and do it, and that's not fun. So again, what matters most? Who are we and why are we here?
Hmm. I'm helping others unlock that for themselves.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to have to go through me. But as we say
Hmm.
in the Visionary Forum, it's visionaries unleashing visionaries.
Hmm.
And that's where, again, as a community, it's very cool for to say we're very similar in a lot of ways and have different experiences. So how can we help without judgment? Go, dude, I hear you. I've been through it or I'm going through it. And here's what I did.
Right.
And we're learning from each other. And we're not networking to each other, we're networking for each other, which is a cool
Oops.
thing.
Absolutely. What are some of the key signs that you see often, whether it's in that tribe specifically, the businesses that you work with iMatter? We can kind of go into that specifically, and how you're helping businesses harness that. But what are some key signs that business owners, entrepreneurs are too tethered to their business and it's tying up their freedom to be and do what it is they ultimately want to do in the life that they want to design and live. What are some of those key signs you see?
Yeah, I think to me the main thing, and I mentioned peace, joy, and freedom, that if they aren't exuding those, then there's not that there's
Hmm.
something wrong, but it's an opportunity. And again, I've been through this
Hmm.
myself where it's like I'm doing stuff I love, but then I'm doing a lot of things that I don't love. And when
Hmm.
someone is in their great gift and in that flow and their conscious level is raised, it's very, that passion is very inspiring. And so if a visionary is
Hmm.
not inspiring, then that also is, verbiage and emotions do reflect consciousness. So if someone isn't clear and concise about something they're passionate about, especially for a visionary, it's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And so to
Hmm.
dig deeper on, we visionaries are here to be the walking, living example of how to take risks and to go for it and to help people, but also not at our own expense. And so a lot of
Yeah.
us are not knowing and acting like we matter. And so whether it be in a
Mm.
business or individually, you can just tell they're not excited. And again, a lot of times it's passion ignites inspiration and more passion. So I'll be excited about
Yeah.
something and people are like, that sounds great. I'm like, oh, cool. So you know what I'm talking about? They're like, no, but you're excited. And I want to be
Hmm.
excited. So what are you
Yeah.
excited about, Jill? It's
Right.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that's the main thing
Exactly.
is that because we're the energy, and again
Hmm.
we can be drama queens that it's like everything's great. Oh, we're
Yeah.
so screwed. So
Yeah.
we tap into the energy that's out there and tap into the energy to help us move forward. And
Hmm.
which again is a cause and or as a curse and a solution to everything is we see when energy isn't there, we can pump people up, but we can also see gaps and stuff to say we are rocking, but we got to take care of these things. It's
Right.
and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's having certain systems and disciplines so we can have more freedom within those. And that's what
Yeah.
we help implement, whether it be in business or in life.
Absolutely. Yeah. What what would you suggest in those situations? Maybe personal mistakes and lessons learned that you've had in that journey. Um, Shared experience for them when they're not in a place of peace, when they're
Right.
not feeling energized, whether it be their purpose or passion, or whether it's just the business itself. Like, what is some shared experience and steps you took in that journey?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Main thing is to have support mechanisms in place, whether it be
Hmm.
Cheryl, my wife, or my EO forum, or the Visionary Forum, or my leadership team
Hmm.
to be a mirror for me. And so, it's like,
Hmm.
wow, so they can call me out, not in a bad way, but to say, hey, what's bugging you? And if
Hmm.
they notice or I notice that I'm angry, fearful, or frustrated about something, that's a learning opportunity. But if I keep it up
Hmm.
here, that's the chatter that is usually negative to
Hmm.
say, I didn't get this done, and how come I have to go do this? So even
Right.
recently, one of our scorecard metrics is what percentage of my time is in my great gift. And so that the things that I love and I'm great at. And so literally the first week, they said, okay, Bob, what do you think? And I said, 35% of the time. And my one assistant says, you did this, and this. I think it's 95% of the time. And another person on the leadership team says, I think it was 80 or 85. And I'm like, really? And so I looked at the time and I'm like, actually, you're right. So it's also perception that if a couple things are really I don't like doing it or I'm not good at it, it feels like it's 100% of my time. So part of it is just to identify what am I great and what do I love, and if I'm not in that space, I'm really not happy. So, but I
Right.
look back at that week and I'm like, I did podcasts. I facilitated a couple coaching sessions. I facilitated the Visionary Forum. I had time to
Mm.
walk with my wife. I had a couple great clarity breaks. I call those I times,
Hmm.
and I'm like, that's a great week. But when I rated what percentage of my time was there, it's like my perception was
Mm.
it's lower. So just shifting
Yeah.
that perception was huge. And a
Yeah.
lot of it is celebrating, one of our processes at iMatter is imagine, impact, and improve. So imagine a great future. What does that look like? It's like, okay, that's cool, both personally and professionally. And then
Yeah.
not worry about it because I don't know how we're going to get there. I can just see what it kind of looks like, tastes like, smells like, and feels like. Then when I look
Hmm.
at the past, it's not regret. It's what can I do to learn from what happened in the past. And that's usually kind of an emotional thing to say, to experience the emotion, sit with it, and then knowing what I know now, what would I have done differently then? But to forgive myself and
Right.
those around me. So now I'm impacting this moment right now. So it's
Hmm.
having a pretty clear vision that I've shared, having a process to when I'm frustrated now, it usually relates to something that happened in the past. So to heal from
Yeah.
that and flip that to a positive. So and as visionaries, to me, my biggest gift to the world is to be present. And even Dr.
Hmm.
Doug Brackman, I heard him speak. What I heard him say, one of his definitions of God, and I should probably verify this is what he said, but what I heard was uh, intense, simple presence. And it was like, wow. So if you and I have a real conversation and we go deep and it's without judgment, it's magic. And as my then 4.5-year-old son said, I get it, Dad. And I said, what's that? He said, love is magic and magic is God. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty simple. And then
Aw.
as a 4.5-year-old, he said, but I have
Yeah.
one question. And I said, what's that? He said, can God hear us fart? And I was like, okay, there's my 4.5-year-old. So but it's to have a simple
Bringing it back
process.
down.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So it's really about making time to realize what matters most, remember who
Mhm.
I am, and to follow my North Star, which is my purpose. And so to look at that,
Mhm.
maybe not every day, but every week. And so it's like, and to celebrate, to say, wow, look at all the things
Yeah.
that we accomplished, and remind myself, because again, my brain, the human brain, the ego is like, here's what you didn't get done. And maybe you shouldn't have
Mhm.
courage around this because Jill might make fun of you, or someone may not sign up.
Mm,
But it's like, you know what? It's all, as long as I'm putting energy toward that vision, it's all where it's supposed to be, and be present more
yeah.
often.
I love that. Well, a couple things came up for me in what you
Yep.
said too that tie back to I'm part of the Visionary Forum, of course, shameless plug for that community right here. I can't say enough great things about that community and just the open honesty that we get to share in a group of visionaries. But our last session a week ago, or maybe it was the one before, sorry, that we were talking about the concepts of time versus energy in our breakout room and in our
Right.
breakout session. And you can have time for something. So everything you were talking about, the percentage of use of your time made me think of that, right? Something that may only take a certain amount of your time requires a lot more of your energy. So you
Right.
may only spend a few minutes on it, but to you,
Right.
it drained you. Like it drained you in a way that felt the perception of that. So looking at time versus energy is so vital in that because you shouldn't be doing anything that's draining your energy to that degree. So then it's a matter of looking at it in that awareness to say, well, I did spend my time on this. What do I need to do with that differently so that
Right.
energy wise, the most of my energy matches with the time I am putting into something and you're energized by your core genius.
Right.
So that stood out to me as kind of that perspective shift because
Right.
it's not a matter only
Perspective
of
is huge.
time and where
Right.
how many hours or minutes you're spending on something. It could
Right.
be, a short amount of time that drains that bandwidth for where we're really passionate and where we're in our core area of genius. So I love that.
Well, thank you. And I
Yeah.
know it's untethered visionaries, which is cool. I want to talk more about untethered, but I think
Okay.
perception is a huge thing that, and again, it's not that I never should do anything that I ever want to do again. That's not the point. I mean, if I've got a
Hmm.
young baby and I got to change the diaper, well, I maybe not want to do
Yeah.
it. I may not be great at it, but to
Right.
celebrate that my child matters most, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
outsource everything. But also, I
Right.
used to that. It's like, why am I doing this again? And it's like, you know what? Be grateful for where we are, and again, listen and learn. And maybe I wasn't clear on the expectation because I could say, "Hey,
Hmm.
get this done," and you give it to me. I'm like, that's not what I asked for. Well, maybe I wasn't clear what I asked for, and or maybe you didn't
Hmm.
understand. So to have patience and to listen, be compassionate, empathetic, and keep
Hmm.
making progress. If it's 5 years and I'm doing the same shit I don't like, that's frustrating. but
Yeah.
but even my own
Yeah.
perception on, it's like, and that's why I start my day with the 331, which you're familiar with. Is just a simple
Hmm.
meditation and simple plan for the day. And I'm like, that would make a great day. And by 8 or 8:30, I'm like,
Hmm.
I already had a great day. And the rest is bonus time, or
Right.
because normally I have 50 things that I have to get done. And those are often
Hmm.
urgent things. And if it's like, these are the three most important things that as I get those done or I be these things, it's a great day. So I'm elevating my energy. And that way, my perception is different. A little thing doesn't bother me as much. And I'm grateful. And what I'm putting out
Mm.
is gratitude and love as opposed to nobody fucking ever does
Yeah.
what I want.
Yeah.
Sorry for the F bomb. I
Exactly.
should have warned people. There'll be a couple.
Yeah, exactly. No, I hear you. Uh, let's let's touch on that just slightly, what you said about urgency versus importance, because
Yep.
I mean maybe it's so present right now with some of the clients that we're working with, is this constant putting out of fires. And even for the visionary, we tend to move so quickly typically
Right.
quick starts, typically at a speed and at a level of urgency that supersedes, kind of your average employee or team member, right? Everything is moving quickly and we can handle a lot thrown at us at once. So, how do you coach through that level and understanding, that perception of what's urgent versus what is truly important? And how do we
Yeah,
continually harness that?
right. It's definitely a learned discipline that,
Hmm.
especially if we start a new business or a new project, and again, it's kind of the fight or flight human nature that is, breathing through our mouths. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, she might quit. And oh, I hope they sign up. And oh, what's cash flow look like? And oh, is my wife mad at me? I mean, is it like two
Hmm.
breathing through our nose? And it's like, and this is perspective. I think that's our theme for the day is that
Hmm.
no one's dying today. And
Hmm.
hopefully the employee isn't going to leave or the client isn't going to leave. And so, as we talk about in EOS, it's working on the business, not in the business. So it is delegating to other people the quick questions that we have to answer to. And then the important things are, okay, this client is unhappy and we have to put out a
Hmm.
fire, slow down. And this is where the visionary can step in and say, hey, let's reestablish boundaries and expectations. And as a
Hmm.
salesperson, sometimes I overpromise to say, all right, Jill, I'll get that to you tomorrow. And if I was truly
Hmm.
honest, to say, okay, are you interested? Open and honest. I don't want to waste my time. And if you
Hmm.
say, Bob, I really want to hear about the Visionary Summit, to say, okay, when do you need the information by? It's like anytime next week. Well, I might
Hmm.
have put my team under pressure to put out a fire that Bob promised we get to Jill by the end of tomorrow. And I used to do this tomorrow a lot. And if you just go, yeah, get it to me
Hmm.
whenever, it's like, okay, let's do it by the end of next week. So to be clear on expectations and boundaries, I think a lot of
Hmm.
fires are created by we are the cause of and solution of all life's problems. And so
Yeah.
so I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to sell to a non-target market client. So to me,
Hmm.
looking at the urgent things to say, is it around our process of what we're great at and love? If not, let's not take that on if we can help it. Is it for a
Hmm.
client that is a target market client or not? Most of our frustrations are working with either employees that aren't a fit or clients that aren't a fit. And I've learned,
Hmm.
I used to love the thrill of the hunt that, all right, I'm going to close Jill. I'm going to get her to sign up for that. And it's like I was trained as an assassin to, okay, now I give you the pen and you're going to sign. And it's like, that's not
Hmm.
what it's about. It's to have a compelling story. Is it a fit for you? Are you interested? If so, here's what we're great at and love, and here's my team that I
Hmm.
can turn you over to. And it's a great relationship. Whereas if I
Hmm.
convince you of something, and then I now have to convince the team to come up with something new, and it's like all these new things. So figure out what we're great at
Hmm.
and love, what is our target market, and deliver that. So again,
Right.
usually your fear and frustration, every anger and fear and frustration is a learning opportunity, but it's making
Mm.
time to check in with my head and my heart. So if
Yep.
I go into a Monday, I'm usually pretty anxious and I wake up, but
Mm.
I'm like, I have so much I have to do. So then it's taking about 90 minutes each Monday morning for my eye time. That's my giant clarity break. And I use the Take Five
Mm.
check-in, which is basically a tool for me to have a safe space. There's no one around. I got tunes going. I'm asking myself, 8 questions of where is my head and my heart? And almost all of
Yeah.
them are like, oh my God, if I'm going to go broke, we're going to run out of money. And it's like, okay, if everything in the world goes wrong in the next 6 months, we're going to have a money issue. But that chatter is often we're going to run out of money to, okay, you know what? Today we're not going to run out of money. So what is important? Not the urgency that I have to go sell this or whatever. So and perception, I think, is a big part of that whole thing. So in
Yeah.
my 5 minutes of rambling, I don't know if I answered your question, but
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's the chatter, it's the perception for us and truly prioritizing what needs to happen now in importance for
right,
more of that future, future casting. And so often we can have this tunnel vision with these fears and anxieties around us that everything is on urgent mode. And that
right,
actually hinders us from truly following through with what is important for us to focus on now.
yep.
So that, yeah. Can you share a story of a time you've felt held back, that you felt tethered, and what steps you took to start? Like, what is a starting point to untether yourself?
It's again, and I lead with this, and sometimes people are like, why do you start with the negative? And first of all, there's no such thing as a positive or negative or right or wrong. But if every anger, fear, or frustration is a learning opportunity, so that's my first question I ask myself on my
Yeah.
Monday morning check-in is, what are my top three angers, fears, or frustrations? And it's like, well,
Mm,
why do I do that? Well, because I'm sure I don't always have them, but it's like that I haven't worked out. I never work out is my frustration. And then why is because I want to be healthy. And next step is do 10 push-ups today. Schedule yoga tomorrow. It's just not that big of a deal. But so again, it's that perception to dive in. So it's ultimately to make time to check in with my head and my heart. So a specific example, goes back a while ago, but it popped up, is I had an
hmm
opportunity 24 years ago to partner with this amazing business guru. And I sold my business to go jump on board. And I was all excited. And we got into it. It was like not the role that I thought it was going to be. I really was kind of the integrator as I look back at it, which is a big mistake.
mm,
So just being really clear on who I am. So basically, what I did is I took a break to say, what are my core values? What is my why, what,
mm,
and how? And does it fit here? And if it doesn't, it may not be a fit, and to be
hmm
really clear on that, and even to be clear on that before I make decisions. So I'm getting smarter, on that. So
hmm
that's an example. I walked away from hundreds of thousands of dollars that we had sunk in, and I just said, this may look cool, but it's not what I want. And so that was a hard
hmm
decision. The other one was being an EOS implementer. I did it for 9 years, and it was amazing. It was a great landing place for me after I sold my business. It freed me up to spend more time with my kids, but I started to
Yeah.
realize I don't want to get paid for money for my time, paid for money, get paid for my time. And I don't like 10-hour session days. And I don't like that I
hmm
can't schedule it. So I made a hard decision, literally, that was a year and a half ago, that I said, I think it's time for me to let go of the implementer vine and step in to be courageous to put iMatter out there and turn the Visionary Forum into a business. And that's scary. I put a lot of time and money into it, but it so gives me joy, peace, and freedom. And it's betting on myself. I just interviewed Alex Freitag for the Viva La Visionary podcast, and one of the things is he helps people to help themselves and to learn how and when to bet on themselves. And I love
Mm,
that. And so even just in the
love
last
that.
year and a half, I mean, it was sad for me to leave the EOS implementer community, and it was sad to leave some of my clients. It was sad to not
hmm
make much money on it. But if it
hmm
resonates with my soul, and even to an untethered soul, that it's all going to work out, and I'm
mm,
probably not going to figure out the how. I'll probably figure out the what and maybe the why. And if I can figure out the who, if I'm sitting here saying, okay, I want to have freedom to get to my son's baseball games next spring, I almost don't care how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to put that out there and what I'm going to do. And then I attract the right people. And it's amazing. So again, it's
hmm
facing adversity, facing a tough decision, letting go. I like EOS and I love the community, but letting go of it
hmm
just didn't hurt me as much anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. When you can truly look at it from the viewpoint of what it served in that moment for you and that part of the journey, and that, not everything is to be forever. And
Right.
so how do you spread your wings in a way that that is a good stepping point and part of that journey? But are you held back by kind of preconceptions and perceptions?
Right.
Are we limiting ourselves by what we know in the present and how
Right.
it can look in the future?
And the
So,
story we
beautiful
tell ourselves
story.
from the past, and the story we tell ourselves from the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to flip that to say, wow, look at all the amazing things I've done, as opposed to look at all the things I didn't get done.
Right. Yep. Exactly. I know it's hard not to look at the negative. It's hard not to look at what's missing and where we
It's
still have to go.
right. And my three favorite books are Letting Go by David Hawkins, Michael
Uh-huh.
Singer's Untethered Soul, and Unscared of Chatter by some fun, cool visionary. But letting go helped me to understand I've shoved my emotions down my whole life, and our family
Yeah.
has. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's still there. And what I'm
Right.
realizing is my kids have now grown up. I am acknowledging that I have some sadness, and my wife and I do,
Yeah.
and to accept it. And what I'm realizing is I was shoving down those lower vibration, those negative emotions, but I was also shoving down the amazingly beautiful higher level emotions. So as I acknowledge that I'm
Yeah.
sad, and even literally, I told my mom the other day, "Oh, I took Nick to the airport to go back to school," and she's like, and I said, "I'm sad," and she's like, "Yeah, but he's doing great." I'm like, "No, he is. I'm sad, mom." And she couldn't even comprehend what I was saying because again, that's a great defense mechanism to, life is
Right.
great. But as I acknowledge it and I accept it, I start to go to a higher vibration of courage that he's going to be fine, I'm going to be fine. Courage that Cheryl and I get to plan the rest of our lives, and that's cool. So
Hmm.
that's been a huge thing. And then untethered soul is trusting God, trusting the universe, perspective. And again, how I
Yeah.
heard him say it in one of his books. Is we're on this planet hurtling at a million miles an hour through the universe, and I'm worried about the stain on my pants. It's like, okay, really? And I'll get mad that we sent you the wrong proposal. I'm like, we look like fucking idiots. It's like, it's not that big of a deal. And if it happens over and over again, okay, maybe I wasn't clear or you're not the right person, but don't let it ruin my day. And again, if I'm putting out this
Exactly.
negative energy, whatever I put out, I get back. So, anyways,
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that brings me back to what you said. You said this already a little bit earlier too, with regard to our emotions.
right,
And you've even said this before too, the other day, that our ego or the psyche is not the enemy, right?
right,
Neither are our emotions. And I love what I've loved about Journey with Untethered Soul. It's one of my favorites, hands down, too. So you and I
yeah,
have that commonality. Um, is that I think so often, yeah, we think that in our perception of enlightenment or peace and joy means we are absent of all of those other feelings and emotions that we're
right,
feeling.
right,
We're multifaceted. We can be aware and cognizant of the fact that Nick's in a great place. This is the next journey of life. This is such a beautiful step and part of life,
right,
and be sad, right?
right.
And feel all the feelings. And so I think there's this perception oftentimes that we're just one thing, and
Yep.
it's very black and white. And
And that
so,
we're separate from other things and other people, right?
right. And so when things are really challenging or business wise, the way we're feeling, being enlightened or being in a good place of like high vibration and energy doesn't mean we're void of all of those feelings. It means we're harnessing those in a way that is driving us toward the action that we need to be taking. It is driving us toward healing and breaking down those walls of the emotion. Those are just kind of
Right.
signals. And I think there are so many mornings in my untethered journey, because I have the untethered soul journal too that
Oh,
I do. I might have to just repeat by it over and over and over, because
nice.
I'm constantly needing, it's something I have to remind myself of as someone with really big emotions and really big feelings, that I'm not my feelings. And that is like, but then if I'm not my feelings, I'm good if I'm not feeling these things. If these things aren't coming up, then I'm good. And that's
Right,
so, it's so backwards, but it's contrary to just how we as humans perceive our health and our wellness is in our
right,
mental state, is like, if I'm feeling all these things, something must be wrong.
right.
um
And if I can make a suggestion on verbiage, that's
yeah,
probably the biggest thing that I'm here to do is to shift that conversation. So I heard you say,
yeah.
I have to do that. So like when I hear that, I'm like, I don't want to have to do anything. I don't think that's how you even meant it. But even just say,
Hmm.
I get to do it,
Yeah.
or you didn't say this, but sometimes people say, well, I never do that. It's like, well, in the past, maybe you didn't, but that doesn't mean you are moving forward. So it's that verbiage, and verbiage reflects consciousness. So to
Yeah.
be, like I have to take out the garbage. It's like, you know what? I get to take out the garbage, and I'm thrilled that I don't have to do it every week. And someone else is taking it over here. And if I really don't like it, I can hire someone to do it. But it's so again, this verbiage is so huge on again letting go of something that happened to me in the past or something I think might go wrong. It's like, man, it's my wife and I, we joke, but we've listened to Untethered Soul 4 times, Letting Go 4 times, Unscheduled Chatter probably
Hmm.
20 times. But it's just
Hmm.
it's so cute what the ego does to try to protect us from
Yep.
being who we are and from
Hmm.
failing. And it's and what I think we not think we learn more as humans from the adversity and the struggle than we do
Yeah.
from the successes. And not that I
Yep.
want adversity and struggle, but to embrace it, to say,
Hmm.
again, I'm mad, I'm pissed, I'm ashamed. Okay, it's real. And
Hmm.
someone said, "Boy, you talk a lot about these negative emotions." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm learning how to flip
Yeah.
them, let them go." So then when they come,
Hmm.
it's just kind of like, "Okay, cool, boom," and I can flip it.
Yep.
That's one of our iMatter tools and a common vocabulary. We did a trip with our kids to Ann Arbor years ago before Grace decided to go there, our daughter, and we had the best
Hmm.
day. Just how I planned it. It was perfect. And then we show up to the train to go home, and it was delayed by an hour and a half. And I was just pissed. And I'm just like, oh, this. And my son, who was probably 9 at the time, he's like, well, Dad, why don't you flip it? I'm like, yeah, flip this. He was just like, flip your attitude. That just because the train is late, but the fact that he kind of called me out, he's like, we're having a great day. We didn't even have a great day. We're having. All of a sudden, we started playing, I think it was Heads Up, and the four of us.
Hmm.
And we're laughing and playing. And there's about 15 people around us that started to jump in the game with us. The best part of the
Yeah.
day was after I flipped my attitude of being pissed that it didn't go the way I thought it should. And it happened, and we made the best of the situation. And so my 9 year
Yeah.
old, by being a mirror, helped me to flip it then and many times.
Gosh, the simplicity of our kids sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's impressive for your son of that age too, because I feel like really my lessons with my teenage daughter, especially right now, are me having to harness and know those truths to teach her that.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
like, practice what I preach here because I'm mad and I'm frustrated about how this didn't go my way, or
Right.
whether it's in my business today, or she'll make comments about me sometimes and be like, you're just taking your anger out on us. You're taking you had just because you had a bad day, and it's me yelling at her about for the 10th time to pick up her shoes off the floor. But to
Right.
her, I'm mad and I'm taking out my anger. And
Right.
so she doesn't have that same, I think, perception and wisdom that Nick had when he was younger, it sounds like. But I'm learning to have to model, right? So
Right.
what I am modeling, my kids are seeing, and
Oh,
it's not
totally.
her reminding me, oh, mom, it's great. This is fine. Because usually they're the ones just, well,
That's
now we
their
have to
job.
wait longer, and now we have to, this is, what are we going to do? This is boring. And I'm the one that has to be like, well, your frustration on top of the fact I am frustrated, but now you guys get to complain about it means I have to zen myself
Right.
and remind myself, go with this flow. This is what was, like we are in a moment, we can make something. So I had a similar situation like that in Costa Rica, where I was at fault because we were supposed to get a shuttle ride, check out from our spot near the beach, and head up to the volcano. And I forgot to confirm the reservation the night before. So here we are, all checked out in the lobby, 8 a.m. sharp in the morning. We've got a 3-hour drive ahead of us to get up to the volcano area. We're waiting, and everything prior to that in Costa Rica had been super punctual, right on time, right? Your shuttle shows up. So here we are, and suddenly it dawned on me that I probably did something wrong. And usually it's like in a scheduling situation, I get to blame my husband, right? I get to be like, well, did you? But it
Right.
was my fault. And so, they all took it really gracefully, and I was the one that had to like come down from my temper tantrum inside because here is going to take longer. It's going to cost us double. It cost us double to get a shuttle last minute to get up there. And so here I was super stressed, right? Nothing went as planned. It
Right.
wasn't in my expectations. I was super disappointed. And so I had to harness all the energy around me and the grace that my family was giving because they could have said, my husband could have said a million things to me and it was my
Right.
fault.
Right.
So
Grace
yeah,
is huge. Right. Grace to each other, but mainly grace to ourselves. And that's where, again, who's
yeah,
who's the biggest bully to us? Ourselves.
right.
And so even when
Exactly.
I heard you say it's my fault, it's like, it wasn't your fault. It's like, okay, you didn't get something done. And so,
Hmm.
and usually, and again, in per untethered soul and whatnot, it's
Hmm.
it all works out.
It
It's like
does.
maybe the bus you would have been on could have taken a wrong turn it's just amazing how
Hmm.
it all works
Yeah.
out. It might not seem like it when it didn't happen the way I know it was supposed to happen or should have happened.
Hmm.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, that's the biggest learning curve, I think, is this these saboteurs, that we talk about, and how something contrary to what we envision and how we want it to go and how we think it needs to go is often our biggest learning opportunities because it shapes everything when we can let
Right.
go of that. Yeah, I
Right.
love
And
that.
trust. I think trust is my biggest thing that I've been working on. I've got a lot of my linear world figured out, and I'm tapping into the non-linear
Hmm.
world and to trust, whether it's God, whether it's spirit, whether whatever it is, and that
Yeah,
it all is going to work out. So all I can control
right.
is my relationships, how I'm choosing to show up, how I'm choosing to, again, iMatter, which is our business for the life operating system. It may sound a
Hmm.
little bit selfish, but it as I learn to know and act like I matter, then I can help more people. And so if I'm just not, if I
Yeah.
don't have boundaries and I am blaming myself and I'm not spending time on
Hmm.
myself, and then
Yeah.
I'm not strong for others. It's
Hmm.
when my kids were young, I had a quarterly plan to go to yoga 3 times a week, and I wasn't. And so my wife is like, "Well, I noticed that you haven't been going," and I took it as "How come you never go?" And she did not say it like that, but I
Right.
said, "Well, I said, but if I'm gone." Then you've got to deal with the kids more. And she's like, dude, if you're around and you're not at peace, you're of no good to us. And she didn't say that. That's how I heard it. But it's like, wow,
Totally.
it was okay for me to go and do something for myself because then I
Yeah.
was whole and energized and present as opposed to
Right.
being there the whole time and, oh, we have to do this. So we have to do that. It's interesting. Life
Yeah.
is cool. Life is cool.
It is. Yeah. I mean, that could tie in what you were saying about you, you're disservicing we are disservicing our
Yep.
families when we're not taking care of ourselves. The same is true in all facets of life. When we aren't truly in our aware state, taking care of ourselves, focusing and continually working on ourselves first, it's at a disservice. How many leadership teams, too, could you ask in relation to a visionary truly sitting in the seat of a visionary and how much of how uplifting and inspiring and how essential that is for the rest of the team to shine in their core area of genius too.
Right.
We're disservicing our teams, our people, our employees, the more inundated or the more those saboteurs are true, allow those saboteurs to be true for us and we feel like we constantly have to mire in it.
Yep. No, definitely. I've got
Yeah.
30 things I can comment on that, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that point though. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. So, what advice, Bob, would you give to entrepreneurs who are struggling to let go and to trust their teams? Trust sounds like a current, really focus area for you. So, what would you give advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are struggling in that and to allow their teams to take on more responsibility without compromising their vision?
Yeah, it's not you can't one it's not doesn't make sense to just let go of the vine and leave. As someone said, letting go of the vine
Yeah.
isn't about abdication. It's about letting them do that. And to me, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially visionaries, have a hard time letting go of the vine, and that's trusting my people and trusting my process. But then a lot of people are like, well, what do I do next? Whether that's consciously or unconsciously, it's like but I'm used to double checking invoices. But it's like, yeah, but you're kind of getting in the way. And then you're not doing what you're great at and love. So I come back to realize what matters most, clarify who you are, and follow your North Star. And it's to live life beyond the vine. And a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when we start our business, it's like, okay, I see a vision, I see a problem. I sell it, then I bring it back to the team, and I probably have an initial process to say, hey, we need to do this, this, and this. And then I'm caught in doing things that I'm not good at and like. And so, but then we've been doing it for, 10, 20, 30, some of us 40 years. Well, I used to be in 6 seats. And if I don't do it, it's not going to be done right. So to be really
Mm,
clear on a simple plan and process, have the right people so they know, they're a core value fit and they know what they're responsible for, and then trust them. They're going to make mistakes. And it may not even be a mistake. And so,
yeah.
but part of it is life beyond the vine is basically what is other than my seat as a visionary or my
Mm,
seat as a salesperson, or a lot of us visionaries are in the sales leadership seat, which doesn't usually work. But it's like life beyond the vine for me is my marriage, my health, my
yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
the other community events that are worth my time that I love to do. It's hobbies.
Mm,
It's hiking, it's pickleball, and it's like as soon as I have
mm,
time, I'm going to go do those things, and that's the be do have concept. So we in the East are say as soon as I have time and money, so have. Then I'm going to do the things I love and I'm great at. Then I'm going to be at peace and be in love and be happy and be present. The universe, I mean, it's the opposite. Why not be present, be happy, be in love, and then I almost have no choice than to do the things I love at, be who I am, and then I start to have those other things. So it's just ultimately to be clear on who I am, be clear on where we're going, be clear on who's responsible, and then let go. It's not the end of the day if we sent you a proposal with a misspelling on it. But then to
mhm,
turn back and just say, okay, does everyone, what do you guys think? And what could we have done differently? Ask more questions rather than more, you should have done this. So it takes
mm,
time. And to me, a visionary that's been doing this for most of my clients that I'm coaching have been in
mhm.
their business for, 20, 30 years. So it's, to be a
Yeah.
part of the support group, to break it, hire a coach, mainly spend time on yourself to chat. The answers are in here. It's
Mm,
and so as I slow down and check in with all the stuff that's going on, what are really important and or what are really urgent. So it's mainly just checking in with yourself, checking in with your head and your heart, with something greater than yourselves. It's
yep.
creating a great team. What makes you happy? And to put
Yep.
that out there and ask for it. A lot of times
Start
our
there.
yeah, our leadership teams, like when I first
Mm,
how I let go of the vine is I took a 2 month sabbatical. I was dealing with a personal issue, and my team is like, "We got you, dude." And I'm like, "Wow, that's cool." And when I came back, they were like, "We're glad you're back. We don't want you to do all the shit you were doing before." And I'm like, "Oh, well, what do I do now?" And they said, "What you're great at in love." And I'm like, "I didn't even know what that was. This is 25 years ago." And that's when
mm,
iMatter was born, where I started to realize that I am the visionary and I can add a shitload of value 5 hours here, 2 hours there, 15 minutes there. It's not me how many hours I'm working or turning the crank. It's
yep.
check in, man. Check in here and check.
Yeah. Love it. Oh, so good. Start there. That's the best. Start with yourself, happiness. What is your passion? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because and then
Love it.
shifting this is again, I said this earlier, but the biggest bully I've ever known is me to myself. So
Yep.
as I check in, and a
Oh,
lot of the
yeah.
time when I'm anxious about something, it's because
Mhm.
the story I remember when I was 8 was this. It's like that has nothing to do with what's going on right here. What's the
Yeah.
real situation here? And
Mm,
is it worth ruining my day over? You know?
mm. Yep. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing. Bob, if people want, first of all, Unscatter the Chatter by Bob, where can they get the book? And then how can we learn more about iMatter and the Visionary Forum?
Yeah, you can order Unscared of the Chatter, either the hard copy or Audible through Amazon or through Audible. And or you can go to iMatter.com and then you can learn about our life operating system. If you're a visionary, how to be a part of our community or go to our events. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
iMatter.com. We're here to help people to know and act like they matter. And I'm client number one. I'm still learning every day, but I appreciate your time and appreciate your friendship
Mm,
and excited
likewise.
to move forward.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks everyone for being here. We'll talk to you next time.